Hey guys, Dwayne Bryant here from WagerTalk.com, coming to you on Wager Talk TV with another edition of DB's Freebies. This episode, we're going to be looking at NFL Divisional Round playoff. 4 games this weekend. We're down to our final 8 teams. Let's get into it. We're going to start with Saturday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Jacksonville Jaguars visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. The consensus line right now as I record this on Wednesday morning is Kansas City minus 8.5 and the total at 52.5. The Chiefs are the number 1 seed in the AFC, so they're coming off a bye. Jacksonville coming off that big 31-30 comeback home win in the wild card round against the Chargers. The Jags were minus 5 in turnovers in that game. And that got me thinking, I wonder how many times a team in the playoffs was that far in the negative in turnover margin and still managed to advance. So I went to the trusty SDQL database and researched the entire history of that database. There were only 3 times that a team is off a playoff win in which they were minus 3 or worse in turnover margin and advanced to the next round. Those teams are 0-3 straight up and against the spread in the next round. They were also 3-0 to the over. The average score was opponents 37.3 and the team 23.3. So they got beat by an average of 14 points per game, and the average total points was 60.6. Another interesting aspect here is that this is a rematch from a regular season meeting from back in Week 10 in Arrowhead. Kansas City won that game 27-17, where they themselves were minus 3 in turnovers in that game. Still managed to win by double digits, and the game wasn't even that close. Jacksonville scored a late touchdown to make it look more respectable than it was. The Jags were outgained by 171 total yards in that game. And one thing that works against them here, and I think is a key to this game and this matchup, is that Jacksonville has given up the 3rd most yards and the 3rd highest yards per catch to tight ends this season, and they are looking down the barrel of having to face Travis Kelce. So I'm expecting Kelce to have a huge game in this one. My DVOA-based projection, and if you watched my weekly shows throughout the regular season, I do a DVOA-based projection to give me a line for each game. And my DVOA projection here is Chiefs by 8.5, so it's right on the number, so I don't see value one way or the other. Having said that, I do lean Kansas City and the over here. I just don't think the Jags defense is going to be able to stop Mahomes and that Kansas City offense. The fact that they held them 27 points in the first meeting in Arrowhead blows my mind. I don't think there's any way Kansas City doesn't break 30 plus in this one. I also lean to the over in this game. I think the Jags can score some points. I think Trevor Lawrence is playing a much better than he did, despite all the interceptions last week, of course. But that being the outlier over the last couple months, I think Trevor Lawrence is playing, much more comfortably, much better. Maybe he's got those, first playoff game jitters out of the way last week, and he'll be more effective here. I do think they can score some points, but I still think it's going to be a double-digit Kansas City win. I haven't bet any games yet as I record this on Wednesday morning, but I do lean Kansas City and over in this game. The next matchup is the Saturday evening game, 8:15 p.m. Eastern. It's an NFC East clash. The Giants visit the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are a 7.5-point favorite with the total at 48. And as I said, these are division rivals, so this is the 3rd meeting of the season. Philadelphia swept the 2 regular season meetings, winning 48-22 at New York in Week 14, and then winning 22-16 at home in Week 18. A lot of people are saying, that was a lackluster game for the Eagles, and maybe it was. They were favored by like 16 or 17 points by the time that game kicked off. And they only won by 6. But it was, I believe, 19-3 midway through the fourth quarter. So, the Eagles were taking care of business. Maybe, they weren't scoring touchdowns like we were used to seeing during the regular season. But the Giants were playing a lot of backups in that game also. So, Daniel Jones didn't play. So it's amazing that they even came back late, to make it a 6-point game. Eagles are the number 1 seed in the NFC, so they are off a bye. The Giants are off that upset road win in Minnesota on Wild Card weekend last weekend. That wasn't a surprise to me. I'm still kicking myself for not betting the Giants in that game. I've been saying for months now that the Vikings are overrated. They proved it once again last weekend. So, the Giants, can they get over the hump against the Eagles? Well, my DVOA-based projection says no. DVOA says Eagles by 10, so some value on the birds at home, laying the 7.5. But, I'm a situationally based handicapper. And one situation that sticks out to me is that playoff road underdogs of more than 7 that are off a playoff win as a road underdog, like the Giants, are 4-14 straight up, but 12-6 against the spread, including 8-2 against the spread since 2010. So this particular situation favors the Giants specifically in this matchup. Also keep in mind that this will only be Eagles QB Jalen Hurts' second game in about a month. He was injured. He did come back for that Giants game in Week 18 so they could wrap up the division and the number 1 seed. He didn't look great, and that was against mostly New York backups. So will we see some rust in this game? It's possible. I'm kind of torn on this game, to be honest with you. The difference, though, might be Eagles offensive tackle Lane Johnson. He's the heart and soul of that offensive line, and if you know me, you know that I'm a big believer that these NFL games are won and lost at the line of scrimmage, in the trenches. So, Lane Johnson, he opted to postpone his surgery so that he could play in the playoffs, but he is not going to be 100%. How effective he's going to be remains to be seen. The Giants' defensive line, they're not too shabby. So, they might have some success there as well. Jalen Hurts, he's a mobile fella, so they might have some trouble tracking him down anyway. All that being said, I do have a small lean on the Giants, plus 7.5 here. Haven't bet this game, haven't bet any of the games. I'm not sure I'm going to bet this one, but as I sit here right now, I do lean Giants plus the 7.5. So let's move on to Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern. And if I wasn't a Cowboys fan, this would probably be the game that I would be most interested in this weekend. Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Buffalo Bills. Consensus line, Bills -5, total 48. This was the game that got postponed a couple weeks ago when DeMar Hamlin collapsed on the field. I believe that game was in Cincinnati, though I could be wrong. But they are in Buffalo for this one. Both teams playing on Wild Card weekend. Obviously, both teams won, or they wouldn't be here in this game. Bengals 24-17 home winners over division rival Baltimore. Bills 34-31 home winners over Miami, and they were favored by 2 touchdowns in that game and damn near lost it. So not thrilled with them here. My DVOA-based projection says Bills by 7, which is a little bit of a surprise to me. I mean, I do have the Bills as the better team, as I'm sure most people do. But by 7 points, that I don't know about. Couple of things I want to point out here, and we're going to talk about Joe Burrow. We're going to cut Burrow's season in half here. Burrow versus division opponents. 4 wins, 3 losses. 258 passing yards per game, 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Burrow versus non-division opponents. 9-1. 288 passing yards per game, 23 touchdowns against only 3 interceptions. Now, is it a case of the division opponents just knowing him and the offensive tendencies better than non-division opponents? I don't know. But that's a dichotomy there that's worth pointing out. Something I didn't know until I started researching this game, and it surprised the hell out of me. Josh Allen had 22 turnovers this season, 16 interceptions, 6 lost fumbles, and that is the most turnovers of any quarterback this season. I did not know that. That surprises me, and also, if you watched my preseason NFL video where I break down how I handicap NFL games, one of the things I mentioned was, or one of the first things I look at is, who do I think is going to win the turnover battle? Well, that number there for Josh Allen is alarming if you're thinking about backing the Bills. Another thing that I like to look at here, especially for these playoff games, is how these quarterbacks perform in the fourth quarter. Because let's face it, most of these playoff games are tight and are going to go down to whoever plays better in the fourth quarter. So let's look at Joe Burrow in the fourth quarter of games this season. 70.2% completions, 1,039 passing yards, 11 touchdowns against only 2 interceptions. Now let's look at Josh Allen in the fourth quarter this season. Only 58% completions, 900 passing yards, 6 touchdowns against 4 interceptions. So very clearly, Joe Burrow was the better fourth quarter quarterback this season than Josh Allen. However, another aspect of this game is that beat-up Bengals offensive line, and I believe they just lost their left tackle in the last game, won't be back for this one. And that's significant because this season the Bengals are 0-3 straight up when Burrow gets sacked at least 5 times. They're 13-1 when he gets sacked less than 5 times. So there's your key. Can the Bills sack Burrow at least 5 times? That Cincinnati offensive line is banged up, and that's a concern for me. But we saw Joe Burrow overcome a similar circumstance in last year's postseason. And keep in mind, Joe Burrow, in his brief NFL career, is a perfect 6-0 straight up in the month of January. This guy, and they call him Joe Cool, the new Joe Cool, and he is. So despite the DVOA and the offensive line concerns, I'm leaning Bengals +5 here. Now, I didn't bet it yet, but I damn sure might. Joe Cool can battle, and at least keep this game close. I said we saw him do it in the last postseason, and he can damn sure do it in this one. And that's going to bring us to the last matchup of the Divisional Round weekend, Sunday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Dallas Cowboys visiting the San Francisco 49ers. Consensus line 49ers -3.5, total 46. Now the Niners are off a 41-23 win on Wild Card weekend at home against their division rival Seattle. And I'm sure most of you saw the Cowboys on Monday night knocked Tom Brady and the Bucs out of the playoffs convincingly, 31-14 on the road, and the game wasn't even as close as that score would lead you to believe. Interesting enough, this is a rematch from last year's playoffs where the Niners went into Dallas as about a 3.5-point road underdog in the wild card round, upset the Cowboys 23-17. Now, I'm a Cowboys fan, but this game worries me because prior to the playoffs starting, and probably even a little before that, I've just had this feeling that it's going to be a Bills-49ers Super Bowl. Hope I'm wrong. But the Niners are just a much different animal than Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay can't run the football. They're very pass-heavy. You saw Brady toss it 66 times Monday night. That's not San Francisco. San Francisco can do it all. They can run the ball well, and they have a better defense than Tampa Bay. Now, that's not saying Tampa Bay's defense is bad. It's not. They were 13th in DVOA, but the Niners' defense is number 1 in DVOA. And, this hurts me to say this, but I got to be honest, I don't see that enough has changed from last season's playoff game to this one that makes me think we should see a different result. And then Brett Maher. What the hell happened to Brett Maher? Between the end of the Washington game and last week, he had missed 5 extra points in a row before hitting the last one. At this point, it's got to be mental. I mean, the snaps were good, the holds were good. He's just missing them. And right now, missing that many in a row, I don't care that he made the last one. That could have been a happy accident. I mean, it's got to be mental at this point. I mean, he's got to be up in his head, right now. And the fact, and I hope I'm wrong, but the fact that the Cowboys are not trying out any kickers this week is ridiculous. How in when you got a divisional round playoff game coming up against a defense like San Francisco, where you're most likely going to have to kick some field goals and make the damn field goals, how are you not trying out kickers this week? I don't understand. I hope I'm wrong and they bring some guys in, but I haven't seen that they have. And I heard Jerry say they're not gonna, that they're sticking with Maher. And I get it. You want to give the guy a vote of confidence. But, geez. I mean, I just think after missing 5 extra points in a row, that Jerry Jones saying we're going to stick with you, that's not enough to get Maher over the mental hump. And I think that's a mistake not bringing anybody in, to try out. Anyway, people are saying, and I've already read some of the press clippings this week about how, the Cowboys face Tampa Bay's defense is not very good, which that's bullshit. But anyway, now they're going to face a better defense. And that's true. The Cowboys are going to be facing a better defense this week, but so is San Francisco. So they faced Seattle's defense last week. Not only do they know Seattle well, but the Seahawks defense is number 21 in DVOA. The Cowboys defense is number 2 in DVOA, behind only the 49ers. So, it's going to be a step up here for Brock Purdy as well. My DVOA projection here is 49ers by 5, so there is a little value on them here. They do have the scheduling edge as well, as they played on Saturday, while the Cowboys had to play Monday night and travel. So, definitely an edge for the Niners schedule-wise. And, Cowboys got to start fast here. If they've got a shot, they got to start fast, because if they get behind and they have to abandon the running game, Dak is going to press, and he's likely going to make mistakes, and that's just going to make this game ugly. And the contrarian in me wants to bet the over here because we've got the number 1 and number 2 defenses in DVOA. And people are going to look at that matchup last year. It was only 23-17. And say, hey, let's bet the under. But keep in mind, these are also the number 1 and number 2 scoring offenses since week 7. Now, why week 7? Well, that's the week the Niners got Christian McCaffrey in a trade. That's also the week the Cowboys got Dak back from injury. So it's no coincidence. Also keep in mind, only 4 rookie quarterbacks have ever reached a conference championship game. Them being Sean King, Ben Roethlisberger, Joe Flacco, and Mark Sanchez. Brock Purdy would be number 5. And he's faced teams so far with a combined record of 35, 49, and 1. So he's stepping up in class here against a better quality opponent, against a much better defense. This game is tough for me. At 3.5, my lean is to Dallas with the hook, but I doubt I bet it because I'm a contrarian. And I like to bet, the opposite of what I saw last week. And the Cowboys just looked too good on Monday night. And they look too good playing an opponent that is the polar opposite of what they're going to face this Sunday in San Francisco. So I don't know if I'm getting to the window here, but if you're looking for a lean on this game right now, it's Cowboys plus 3.5 over 46. I do have a favor to ask you guys. Please hit the thumbs up button and click the subscribe button if you haven't already. I would greatly appreciate it. And this just came to me. I wasn't going to give out a free play here. I was just going to give a preview of all the games and give my leans, but I think I've got a free play here. But before I get to that, let me tell you about a special deal that's going on over at Wager Talk tomorrow. And I say tomorrow, that means Thursday, because I'm recording this on Wednesday morning. Thursday is Customer Appreciation Day at Wager Talk. All daily pick packages are going to be $11. That includes 5% plays that are normally $35. All one-day all-access passes, which are normally $39, are going to be only $19. Now I'm going to tell you to go to dbbets.com on Thursday and take one of my packages. Now why? Well, since December 2nd, my college basketball clients have pocketed a cool $4,730 in profit that is based on $100 per unit. Like I said, it's a great deal. Customer Appreciation Day on Thursday. Head over to dbbets.com and take advantage of that special deal. Now, impromptu free play that I wasn't planning on, but it came to me while I was sitting here babbling. Because I was thinking about past shows and I gave out a lot of teasers. And there's a teaser that I actually love this weekend. And I'm gonna play this. I'm gonna play a 6.5 point teaser. I'm gonna tease the Chiefs down to -2. And I'm gonna tease the Bengals up to +11.5. I love that teaser. I'm gonna play that, and that's gonna be your impromptu DB's freebie for this week. Now I want to know what your best bets are in the NFL this week. So get active in the comments. Let me know. Drop some comments below this video. Let me know what you like here on Divisional Round weekend. That'll do it for this edition of DB's Freebies. Don't forget to go to dbbets.com on Thursday and take advantage of that customer appreciation deal going on those packages. And until next time, be smart, bet smart, and good luck on all your wagers.